Everything's perfectly all right now. We're fine. We're all fine here now. Thank you. How are you?
Everything is fine here on Detention Block AA23, a Star Wars podcast. I'm Mike, joined by Bogie and Zach. You know, some faces have returned. Bogie, it's been a couple of weeks since you've been on, and Zach, we were just talking before going live. It's probably been about 8 months or so, and we're super excited to have you guys back. A lot to talk about. Get the business elements out of the way really quick. If you're listening to us right now, hit that subscribe button, like this, comment. You know, any little thing that you can do really helps get our name out there amongst all the other Star Wars channels and podcasts. So our chat is up and running. Bring us your opinions, any comments or ideas as we are talking through our topics today. We'd love to hear from you guys. So voice your opinions. But yeah, first of all, again, welcome back, guys. Zach, I'll start with you since, you know, it's been a little longer for you. What's going on? How you been doing?
Good. Yeah, sorry, it's been a while.
No apologies.
Just
No
got
apologies
busy with
needed.
baby number two. And just lots of like just working, um, adding another one to the family. So I've been gone for a while, but like excited to Skeleton Crew was great. Really
Oh
enjoyed
yeah.
that.
Yep.
Had a lot of fun with that show and looking forward to Andor season two, with that trailer dropping earlier. Was that yesterday or earlier this week?
What's today? Wednesday? I think it was
Wednesday.
yesterday. I think it was
Yeah, it was
yesterday.
yesterday.
Or wait, no, it was Monday because Monday was the trailer, and then I think the Kathleen Kennedy news was Tuesday, and then
Mm,
today's Wednesday. So I think I could be wrong, but I think it was that
yeah.
order. But yeah, awesome to have you back. Bogey, how about you? It's been a few weeks. How you been doing?
Yeah, doing all right. Battled a couple colds over the past month and a half. It seems like as soon as I get over it, another one just pops in. But thank God here in Minnesota, the nice warm weather. Now, what I'm battling is allergies. So it's one thing after another. But
Go from one to the next. Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, flu was definitely going around. That hit our family, and that put us down for like 2 weeks. That was not fun, but yeah, everyone's battling some kind of sickness, allergies. But at least to your point, the warm weather is coming. The snow is already almost gone. It only took 2 days, and I'm so happy about it. But got a little bit of dog cleanup to do in the backyard, and that builds up from all the snow. So get to dive into that here pretty quick. But we won't talk about that. I don't think anyone wants to listen to that. Um,
this is
just kind of
dog shit.
yeah, literally. But we just have a few topics we kind of want to talk through. You know, we've already kind of mentioned some of them, but there's been a lot of news items popping up. The first thing I want to speak to is that it was announced, I think, today. So it's like all these new news items coming up each day that Revenge of the Sith will be replaying in theaters on April 25th, to commemorate the 20th anniversary. Do, uh, I don't know like what all theaters it's going to be showing. Is it going to be like your standard theaters, AMC, Marcus, all that, or is it just going to be like select theaters?
I think it's going to go pretty wide. I mean, they've done that with with Attack of the Clones at episode one. It usually gets like pretty wide distribution, but just maybe for the weekend or like a couple of days, and then it gets pulled down pretty quickly. Have you
Okay.
guys seen the have you guys seen the poster from, I think it's Matt Ferguson has been doing like a lot of the anniversary posters.
Is that the one with the Vader helmet, the big Vader helmet on it? Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, he does like some really cool work. I got his Empire Strikes Back poster when they had the anniversary poster a few years ago. Like, and
Okay.
it's really cool. So he did the Revenge of the Sith poster. So yeah, that'd be a fun one to re-see again in theaters. I think I saw it like three or four times when it first came out in theaters.
I have to say, I mean, it's one of my favorite of all the movies. It's, I think, top three. I think I have that one at number three or number four. But it's definitely the one I've watched the most because I feel like it's one of those that if you're just going to watch one Star Wars movie, that one just kind of makes the most sense to watch just because, you know, the turn of Darth Vader is the most epic thing ever.
Mhm.
So you said it is going to be a couple days that it will show. It's not just going to be April 25th.
I think they usually do it over the course of like that weekend,
I
but
hope so.
yeah,
Because if they do that, then I should be able to watch it. Because I do want to go, but you know, kids, we'll see it.
yep,
We'll see
kids.
how that goes. Bogey, you
He's
gonna go
taking
see it?
work off.
Right? Yeah, take a vacation day just to go see Empire Strikes Back, or not Revenge of the Sith.
I say just let me know, Mudge. If you're gonna take a day
Yeah,
off, I'll take a day off and let's go see
yeah.
it.
Well, I mean, you're the only one here without kids, so like, we need you to go see it for us. And um, what? Maybe it was when they did the Phantom Menace, but I feel like in one of the movies they added like a post-credit scene, like a trailer for an upcoming thing. Did you ever remember hearing anything about that? I want to say it was like
Like a
Phantom Menace.
like a
And
trailer for one of the upcoming projects, let's say like Mandalorian or something, or
It must have been a Mandalorian. Yeah, I think they've done like a trailer for each like whatever new show is coming out. Like I think they did it with Attack of the Clones too.
okay,
Um, I think they may have dropped like the Acolyte teaser or something at the end of that one.
okay,
Um, if my timing is right. They've done like a little like trailer at the end of each of the anniversary releases.
okay. I thought that, so I was just curious if like something like that will take place for this one. I mean, they already released Andor trailer. Maybe it'll be like another Andor trailer, or maybe the Mandalorian and Grogu movie trailer, maybe like a little
That'd be
teaser
cool.
thing. So I'm hoping for something like that. We still really haven't gotten much for that, have we? Any new
No, but they've
details?
they've apparently wrapped filming, I think, is what the rumor
That's what
I
I
saw.
heard. Yeah, that's what I heard too. So I have to believe, because Star Wars Celebration is around the corner. Something is going to be coming out with that movie for Star Wars Celebration.
what weekend you said is the Attack of the Clones or not the Attack of the Clones?
Friends of the set.
Yeah,
April
April,
25th.
yeah, April
yeah.
25th. So what weekend is that?
I was wondering why they wouldn't wait because
Is that a Friday?
would the following
Yeah.
weekend be
Yeah,
May the 4th? You would think it would be like that weekend or something.
so Friday is, oh, my TV just randomly turned on. That's really weird. Um, April 25th is a Friday. And then so you hit that Sunday, which is this 27th, and then the following Sunday is May the 4th.
Oh, okay, so it's on a Sunday, but
Yeah.
you get
And
what I'm saying. I thought
Celebration,
maybe they'd pick that weekend or something.
Yeah.
yeah. And Celebration is like the week before this re-release. So I wouldn't be surprised if they had like a like sneak a preview of the trailer that's only at the panel for
Yeah.
Mandalorian and Grogu, and then they like show it at the end of the movie the next weekends.
Yeah.
I could see them doing that. They kind of did that with Mandalorian season one. I remember that's Celebration when it was in Chicago. They like showed an exclusive trailer that was only for the fans that went, and then like I think the actual trailer drops like 2 or 3 weeks later.
Okay. Yeah, and you're our celebration guy, Zach. Any rumors or news that you've heard of? Or
No, nothing.
especially like where the next one will be, because that's what I'm dying to find out, because
Yeah,
I want to get
probably
back
back.
to it.
It'll probably. I would assume it'll be back in. Well, they did Anaheim before Japan, so
Yeah.
it'll probably be. I mean,
Orlando.
I would think they'd go back to the U.S., so probably Orlando, because they seem to bounce between like Anaheim, Orlando, then like an international one. Like Chicago was kind of a random like out of left field. Like they didn't. That was like not super typical for Celebration. It
But I
feels
want
like.
them to go back to Chicago, but they probably won't
Yeah,
because
me
there's no
too.
park at Chicago. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think they like to do it at like close to a park so they can do the celebration nights or whatever with that. It have like they close the park down and you have like a special fireworks show, which is pretty cool. I haven't gone, but I've heard it's pretty fun. Um, yeah, I did the one in Chicago. I did one in Orlando and one in Chicago. And they were both pretty fun. Yeah, so hoping I bet it'll probably be back in Orlando would be my guess. But we'll see. I think they announced like all the guests are now announced.
yeah, the
All
last
the
one was
autographs
Sky
stuff
or
is all set up.
Christensen, right? Wasn't that one of the last ones announced? Hayden Christensen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And
that'd
then
be
Andor will be there, right? I think.
yeah, I think so. Are you gonna go
Diego Luna.
if it goes to Orlando or
Yeah, maybe if it goes to Orlando, I'd be up for that. Japan is like a little bit.
oh
I would love to go to Japan, but like I would have to do like 2 or 3 weeks if I did that.
yeah,
Like, because I actually want to like tour Japan, not just go to Celebration.
and take a couple of
Um,
days to adjust to the
hmm
completely different time zone. But
Yeah,
yeah, if there and that part of the country, if there was or country, if that part of the world, Japan would probably be one of the first places I would want to visit. Um,
yeah,
New Zealand, Australia, and Japan. Those are the places I would want to
it's the
see.
top of my list.
Yeah. Bogey, if
Yeah,
it's in Orlando, you want to go?
Why not?
I would love to get like the whole crew and like go to it and experience it all together. I mean, I know Zach, you've gone multiple times. Thanks to Zach, I was able to go to Anaheim, and I know that Bogey, Dustin, and Greg haven't gone to one yet. So it'd be great to get everyone out
hmm
there, and it's so much fun. Um, and Japan's only 3 days, isn't it? Aren't they usually longer than 3 days?
No, they're usually three. You're right. They are a little longer. They're usually Thursday to Sunday or
Yeah,
Thursday
because
to
mine was
Monday.
a 4 day pass, so
Yeah,
I thought it was different that it's only 3 days. Maybe
I
they're just
mean, I the question really is, do we want to splurge on the Jedi Master VIP passes if we can get them?
how much are those usually?
Too much money. I think like $900 a ticket,
Oh
something
man.
crazy like that.
Oh man.
You have to
I,
ask. You can't afford it.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
I I I briefly thought about it in Orlando because they were still available, and I was like, maybe I should just do. And I don't think they were quite that expensive at that point. I think they were like five. I think they were closer to maybe $500,
And what's the
which is
perk? Like
still.
you get all the panels and
You get like a swag bag. You get yeah, auto access to all the panels. You have like a reserved seat. So like you're at basically the front of all the panels. You get to go into like an expo line for any photo ops or autographs. You still have to buy them, but like
hmm,
they bring you right to the front. So that's pretty cool. And then I think you get like access to merch or like early access to like the store, and I think there might even be like a fast lane to go into the
sure.
Celebration store. But yeah, the perks are pretty cool. Um, but it's very, very, very expensive.
Yeah, no, that perk is definitely good for the store because not only is it a long line, but all the good items get sold out right away. At least that was my experience. I was happy though that zip up jacket. I was able to get that for you and myself, and
Yes,
I saw that I'm
so
like, that's the
pumped.
one thing I want, and we got it. So
Yeah,
I was happy about that.
yeah, I was so pumped that you were able to pick that up because like I still, it's like one of my favorite Star Wars. It's my favorite Star Wars Celebration merch for
Oh
sure.
yeah, I wear it so often. I love it. It's comfortable too. So
Yeah, it was
um
worth the money.
yeah, it sure was. So then the other item, Andor season 2 trailer. I know we've briefly talked about this a little bit, but and I did do a reaction video to it the other day. Just wanted to pick your guys' brains about what you thought about the trailer. What good things, bad things. Does it excite you for it? What do you think? I'll start with you, Bogey.
Definitely got me excited to see some of like the different clips and action scenes, some of the actors. I think were there a couple that are in Rogue One but weren't in season one.
Krennic is
And
the
then
first one that comes to mind.
yep, and then like to see where some of the characters, and I thought somewhere in the maybe we discussed this in the group chat amongst ourselves, was what's his name that was in the prison? It was um
Melchi, or no, Andy Serkis's character.
yeah, Andy Serkis. Yeah, was he? Did we see him in the trailer, or we just see like a credits of like his name show up?
I saw his name is credited. Um, I don't know if it was like IMDb or something like that. So I saw his name listed, but no, he didn't pop up in the trailer.
Okay, I'd be very intrigued. That'd be awesome if they could somehow bring his character back. I know he did jump off because he can't swim
Yeah,
off that prison platform, but I mean, if his character comes back, it just intrigues me, and then especially how they have this laid out for. um, 3 episodes per week, and each of those 3 episodes is like a decade or no, a year by year jump. I find that very, very interesting because you don't see shows do that. So it's kind of a unique model to kind of show that. And so I hope that turns out very well. And yeah, like, and I think we were discussing before that it just seems like you're getting like a little miniature cinematic uh, presentation of it leading up to Rogue One. So yeah, I'm super super pumped and can't wait for it.
Yeah, I feel like it's literally a movie length of content each week. I mean, how
Yeah,
often do you get like a new movie for a franchise week to week to week for 4 weeks? And I think the first one um, comes out right around celebration time, and then it ends right before May 4th. So it's a perfect time. I know it's only going to be 4 weeks, and I know some people are probably a little frustrated that, in a year that we don't have that much content coming out, it's just going to be a quick little presentation. But I am more excited for this format than getting like 40 minutes week at a time. I wish they would do this more for like the animated stuff that's, 30-minute. I think even the Acolyte was like 35 minutes on average per episode. It was like it just wasn't enough. And I think it really stalls the story that's being told if you're not getting more content at a time. Works.
did they
Go ahead.
did they release average runtime per episode?
I haven't seen anything, so I'm not
Okay, I
sure.
just hope it's not going to be like half hours. I hope it's like a full hour, 3 episodes. You know what I mean? Not. I hope they don't skip because what Andor season 1, how many episodes? I'm trying to recall how many episodes they totally
It was
were there
also
like
it was 12, and
it
I
was
think
12?
it was
Okay.
12, and I think they were 40 to 50-minute episodes on
Okay.
average. I
Okay.
think one might have dipped into 60 minutes. But then you're figuring in a lot of it is also credits and preview or last time on Andor type of a thing. So
Hmm.
you're probably getting true like 40, 45 minutes of content in the episodes. So times that by
That's what
three.
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet it'll be in the like just over 35 minutes to like 41, 42-ish an episode.
Yeah.
Let's just hope we don't get like the 25, 20, like those short episodes we sometimes got. I think it was in Mandalorian,
Yep.
where it's like, all right, new episode of Mandalorian. Oh man, it's only 26 minutes.
And it
It's
was
gonna be a
probably like
quick
a
one.
creature feature type of a thing, and then it's
Yeah.
done. I'm just going to jump to our chat really quick. So Damon says, I'm 20 and never seen a single Star Wars movie. Is it worth it now? Absolutely. It, it's
Yeah.
it's always worth it. I know there's things that are
Catch in order.
yeah, I know there's things that are hit and miss, but it still doesn't mean the original Star Wars and the things that originally drew the fans in aren't still there. I would definitely recommend start with the movies, go in the release order, original trilogy, prequel, and then throw in some of like Clone Wars, Rebels, all that stuff. And then if you want to get a little risky, venture into the sequel trilogy. Some people like it more than others. It it's entertaining, but it's just not necessarily Star Wars. And then there are good shows. Mandalorian season 1 and 2, fantastic. Even Skeleton Crew, which is more oriented towards kids, fantastic content. So yeah, by no means avoid Star Wars. There's a lot of good stuff still out there. Um, Hopefully you become a new fan of it. And
And
then
despite if there's something bad, it still could be a guilty pleasure. You
yeah,
know, you still end up maybe you like it and others don't. Like
I
we were
mean
talking about, like the sequel of this of the
the
not
sequel
everyone's favorite,
trilogy.
but some people
Yeah.
like them. So
Yeah, and even like the Acolyte, even though people didn't enjoy it, some people were still watching it to like, you know, talk about it still. So there are elements of entertainment, no matter whether something's good or not as good, that you can get from it. Let's see. Scarab says, I'm starting to see more people who have never seen a Star Wars. We're all getting old. I like this format. Each block will be referring to Andor. Each block will be a mini movie event with complete arcs. So yeah, completely
Yeah.
agree. Excited for this. Um, Zach, how about you? Let's jump to you. What stands out to you watching the trailer?
Yeah, I mean, I'm super pumped for it. It's Andor season one is like I would argue it's between that and I think Mandalorian season two for me are probably my favorite Star Wars shows. Andor might edge it out, but like because I have the guilty, like I'm just a huge Luke Skywalker fanboy. Like Mandalorian season
Oh,
two is probably just slightly
that
above it.
ending, were tears coming
That
down your
ending was
face on
so
that?
good.
They
Yeah,
were for me.
I definitely cried. Um, but like, yeah, I like, and I also love the kind of what they're doing with the art of it. I don't know if you've seen any of the posters and the still images that they're posting, like that,
Mhm.
that scene with Mon Mothma with all the characters dancing around her.
Yeah,
It gives me this like French Revolution painting vibe, which is
that's
super
great.
cool. Like that's what the like I saw like the poster and it's like Andor and almost like a portrait, like
Hmm.
like an old portrait, which I think is kind of cool. Like they're trying to play up this sort of like revolutionary vibe throughout the whole content, which is what it's all about. Um, didn't love the trailer music, but like still got like I get what they were going for. Like they it got I think it was like on vibe with what they were trying to do with the trailer. But yeah, I'm super pumped to see like especially like I like that it's going to be like even though it'll be done over the course of 3 weeks, like the fact that you'll have like a full arc in a week and you'll kind of get to consume that. I mean, I'm sure you guys do this. Like, it's hard for me with some of the streaming services when they don't do all the content all at
Hmm.
once. I kind of appreciate it because it gives me something to watch like every week. But um, on the flip side of there's just something to be said about like I'm gonna watch like 6 episodes of this over the course of the weekend and just like binge through it. Now I have less and less of that these days with kids, but I still enjoy trying to get through a lot of it as much as possible.
Well, and who's to say if they release it all, you can't still watch it week to week to week if you have that kind of dedication or restraint.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know,
Spoilers, though. Can't
yeah,
do it.
I wouldn't be. I would just be like binging through it as quickly
Yeah,
as possible. Um,
that's what I'll be doing.
you made the comment about the Mon Mothma scene. The thing that stuck, like I thought of Rome, like it looked very Rome-esque to me as well in the background, kind of cultish. And thinking back to season one, aren't there like marriage rituals and kind of because the daughter was kind of getting into that thing, and that very much seemed cultish as well. So I'm wondering if it's like playing into that at all. But I like your take on it. I didn't even think about that, and that's great. Um, trying to think of anything else with the trailer that really stood out. I'm really curious because it's supposed to go up to um the start of Rogue One. They're literally leading up to it. You know that character that we see Andor take out at the beginning of Rogue One, where his arm they're like running from the stormtroopers and his arm is injured and he can't like get over the wall or whatnot. Do you think that guy's going to be brought in? Because it seemed like they were kind of partners, but I don't know. Thoughts?
In Rogue One or in the show Andor?
Are they going to
Rogue
bring him
One.
into Andor season two, the guy from Rogue One that when you first meet Cassian, he's a partner with him and Cassian takes out his own guy. And like you can make that scene even like more powerful if you learn that they had like a deep partnership leading up to that. So that was just something that I was looking for when I was watching that trailer and I didn't see. So I was just curious. Um, de- definitely seems very action filled. At least the trailer definitely emphasized the action elements to it. And to your point about the music, I was not a fan of
Not a fan.
that soundtrack, and not only not a fan of it, it also got me a copyright warning for the trailer review. But it says that it's a warning, but like the music person or the source allows for this to be played. So I don't know why it still came up as a copyright because it said it's okay to use it. But I was like, man, don't make me nervous like that. So because trailers you're supposed to be able to use because like if you're critiquing it or commenting about it, you should be able to have the rights to it. So
Well, it's good for the marketing if you're
it's
resharing it.
advertising, it's free
Yeah,
advertisement. So
yeah.
but it's probably because it's an actual soundtrack and who knows if the artist of the soundtrack gave the rights to it. So that's the questionable part. Scarif says, I'm always confused about the people that say Andor isn't Star Wars. That texture on Andor's face poster is an overlay of the Death Star. And then he calls out the power of man. And then we'll see how he sprains his arm. Okay, so we'll see how the guy
Yeah.
sprains his arm.
It'll probably be in the last arc.
Yeah, it has to
Yeah.
be, right?
That would make sense, yeah. And then
I,
I was going to add to say, like, I'm excited to see how we get introduced to K2SO.
yeah,
He was like I loved that droid in Rogue One. I can't wait. And you see all the other that type of droid in the season one. It was just like, when are we going to finally meet K2SO? And then I saw, am I mistaken? Didn't we see Forrest Whitaker?
yes.
And
Yeah.
so to see his character and his kind of like his rebellion against the Empire, I like to see that faction too. So I'm excited to see how they dive into that.
Yeah, I love Saw Gerrera's element to like the rebellion because it's kind of like taking a bad guy's mentality, fight but on the good side. Meaning they're, all is fair in love and war. So I love that
Well,
aspect of it.
we're also probably going to get a little bit more Mads Mikkelsen, which will be
Mm,
great. Like,
Oh yeah.
I would think that they'll probably do a little bit more of like uh pre the story that you see in Rogue One, especially
yep.
because he's going to be at Celebration. I would think that
Mm.
there's a reason that he's going to be at Celebration.
Do we
Um,
do we know what the budget is for this season?
I've I don't know the exact number, but I've heard it's astronomical.
It has to be. I mean, like, if you look,
Yeah.
I mean, Krennic, what's the guy's name that's I can't remember, but just the casting alone is going to be a hefty bill to pay for, especially if there's some potential others that might be showing up, like you said. And then makes me wonder, are we going to get a Darth Vader cameo? Are we going to get
Oh,
a Tarkin
you have
cameo?
to
Emperor cameo? I mean, there's so
probably get a Palpatine. Yep. We're gonna have all of that, I would think.
I have to feel like we are. And they're going to pull out all the weapons on this one. So I mean, it's the only one for this year. So and especially if like Kathleen Kennedy is actually going to be resigning, then let's bring out all the big guns for this show and see how it goes. Um, Sorry, just catching up on Scarifs. Says clarity of purpose. Oh, it's 290 million supposedly for the budget.
Wow.
So
It's lots for a
that
show.
that is a lot. 12
That's like
episodes.
Game of Thrones level, if not higher.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just look how well it was received in terms of like awards and recognition. I know, and I know Scarif kind of alluded to this about not understanding why the comments about it not feeling Star Wars or whatnot. And I know it didn't get the viewership up front. Isn't that correct? But the reception it got from the people who did view it was very high, was received very well, and critics and everything really gave it high marks. So I think we're going to see a dramatic change for season 2 on the number of viewers we get at the get-go. Again, not only is it the only Star Wars show, major Star Wars show going on for the rest of the year, because I think we get Visions. I think we're getting another season of Visions by the end of the year. But the cast on it is just going to draw and garner interest as well. But we'll see if the impact of recent content will make any kind of effect on the viewership. Who knows? But juggle that between and with the news with Kathleen Kennedy, maybe that will bring more people in to increase interest again. Who knows? So many things up in the air. But I'm right there with you, Zach. In terms of Star Wars shows, I think I would put this one even over Mandalorian. I think Mandalorian was more of a true representation of what people think of as Star Wars. It got all that, a bounty hunter that looks like a Mandalorian, just the quest aspect to it and everything. And Andor is just a better content. It's a better production. It looks good. It's a great story. The casting is top notch. I just think everything was super great with Andor, even though people might not feel it was as Star Warsy as maybe Mandalorian. I
Mhm.
I still felt it was very Star Wars, but I can understand why some people might have thought differently. So,
It's probably because it steers a little more towards like gritty war epic than it does
mhm.
like more sort of pulpy, uh, kind of what George Lucas was going for with the original Star Wars. I mean, Mandalorian, I think, gives off those vibes too, because it's very clearly like a lot of the original Star Wars content, or like the OT is drawing heavily from like Kurosawa films and spaghetti westerns, and kind of them mixed with Flash
Exactly.
Gordon. So it's those kind of
Exactly.
three things mashed up. And so you kind of get that with Mandalorian like pretty healthily, especially like right at the beginning, very very spaghetti western feeling. And but like I could see where this doesn't feel as Star Warsy because it's very much like a war movie almost, with some like rebellion, revolution, like the that huge theme to it.
Yeah. And I think with when you think of Star Wars, you also think of like Jedi, Sith, things to that, nature. And even though Mandalorian isn't about that, they still brought in some of those elements. I mean, Luke Skywalker showed up. You've got Grogu who uses the Force. So you
Yeah,
still are tying it in that way. Whereas Andor just doesn't have any of that really. It's more, looking at the average day, Joes and Janes in the life of a world that's under the control of the Empire and what the average people are doing to rise against that. Like a true rebellion-esque story. So I don't know if you would say like the stakes aren't as high in it, but at the same time, it's the Empire, so the stakes are still high. But it just, I don't know. It's just a different feeling. But I mean, the tie-ins to, you get X-wings or even just the sound of the guns and everything. It brings in that feeling of Star Wars still, and you still have the rebels against the Empire stormtroopers and all of that. So uh, for people that are saying it doesn't feel like Star Wars, I have a hard time understanding that. But I can understand if it doesn't feel as Star Wars as something like Mandalorian.
yeah. What if we get a Quinlan Voss cameo?
I'm still waiting for that. I'm
They're
still
like that's got to get paid off at some point.
how that never came in after the Obi-Wan Kenobi show is beyond me at this point. I mean, he was referenced there and the path.
Yeah,
So I thought it was going to come in Mandalorian season 3 and we didn't get it there. So he's got to be coming in soon. He's still alive,
yeah.
but we'll see. Excited for it, and it's not too far away. Scarif says the figure comes from Forbes, meaning that 290 million, which states that the total cost of both seasons of Andor is around $645 million.
Jeez.
That is
So
a
much
chunk of
money.
change.
Yeah,
Thank you
half
for
a
being
billion
our resource
dollars.
here, Scarif.
Yeah,
We
Scarabs are like research expert right
we
now.
we appreciate you. We need to hire you as our full-time like researcher.
Straight
Yeah,
cash,
that
homie.
yeah, straight cash, homie.
For Disney, it's just pocket change.
No, well, that's true.
For the amount of
But
money they waste on all the other BS shows they've come out with that are just awful. Yeah, this is pocket change.
I, I have to feel like they're starting to feel it a little bit, though. I mean, they have endless amount of money, but I don't know. Something tells me they're sensing it a little bit. Not that it scares them, but I don't know. It seems like sometimes they're willing to make changes here and there. So we'll
Well,
see.
hence what probably the next topic you'll bring up. Um,
Yeah. So I mean, we can dive into that now if we want, unless there's anything else with Andor that we want to speak to. Nothing. Okay. Let's move
Yeah,
into
let's go. Let's go to
let
the next bit of news.
LFG. Let's fucking go. Kathleen Kennedy. News released that sounds like Kathleen Kennedy will be resigning by the end of 2025. Nothing concrete. Zach was telling us right before we started recording that CNN released something that, them stating there isn't true factual evidence behind this. This is all speculation still. But due to the number of outlets that are reporting it, where there's smoke, there's fire. So I think there is definitely validity to it. I mean, we've got the Hollywood Reporter, Yahoo, Variety, Screen Rant, IGN, Star Wars Newsnet, amongst others, including Barstool Sports, releasing news articles about Kathleen Kennedy resigning. I think there's definitely split reactions to this. I think there's a large crowd that is super excited about the change that Lucasfilm is taking place. I mean, again, not again, I haven't commented on it yet, but who's to say that, I mean, maybe Kathleen Kennedy is just deciding this is the time, or maybe Disney is looking at it, kind of forcing her to resign. Who knows? And either way, there's going to be a change at the head, and hopefully, in my eyes, it means a change in direction in the content that we've at least been receiving as of recent. But I would have to believe Kathleen Kennedy is going to have a decision in who takes over too. Would you feel that would be an accurate assessment?
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I would assume that like, I mean, it looks like she's officially retiring is the report. So I would think that she's had a big hand in like what the succession plan looks like and who that's going to be, and like who would be the best fit to sort of take over the role. I mean, I hope it's Filoni. Like, I love Dave Filoni. Like, I feel like he's got a good sense for, I mean, George Lucas protege. He's got a good sense for the saga, has done tons and tons of content. I mean, I obviously feel like that's the leading rumor, is that he's going to be the one to take it over. Like, I keep hearing that, or Kevin Feige from Marvel, which like feels like that would be a big job if he was doing both. Like,
yeah,
these are huge franchises. Like, I feel like he'd have to step back from one. But like, I feel like it's got to be Filoni. And then I did see a couple rumors around Filoni and Favreau, which would be cool.
And I think that would make
I
the
don't know.
most sense because they've done some recent projects together and have had success. I can't see Kevin Feige taking it just because, again, that'd be a lot to fill in along with his Marvel role. And his Marvel, you could say, has been kind of
wavering.
wavering
Yeah.
the last few years. There've been a lot more misses than hits. So I could see them maybe, and then to throw him into like the whole Lucasfilm Star Wars universe, that I think that'd be too much on his plate then. And then you risk just going down the same rabbit hole. So I agree that Dave Filoni has got to be the guy that you go after to take over.
And I have to believe if Feige is juggling two, powerhouses like that, in certain decisions, you're going to have to prioritize either Marvel or Star Wars. And how do you go about prioritizing one of those over the other? I feel like that can get very messy. So it makes more sense to like not have him involved in this. Like, there are also people that are more appropriate and better fit for running Star Wars. I don't think anyone knows George Lucas as well as Dave Filoni. I think he's the one that's got a mindset that can replicate George. Obviously, never meet the same as George, but be the next closest. And he is a fantastic storyteller. We've seen it in so many different things, and I think that's the direction I want to see Star Wars move, is prioritize the storytelling over anything else. And again, he's a great storyteller. John Favreau is the same for me in that book. I mean, I don't think he understands Star Wars as well as Filoni. I think he understands it very well. And I think he's had very great success in movie industry. So I would definitely be supportive of Favreau coming in. The only hesitation I would have with Filoni is that he seems to do better when it comes to animated works. But that's not to say that he can't hire someone to carry out the live action portion of it. So I keep going back and forth on who I would rather have between Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. But I think it's 1A, 1B if we get one of those two, Star Wars is going to go in a better direction, in my opinion. So
And who says you can't hire, have them both be like, co?
yeah, have co-consulting or something.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely possible. I think you're still going to have one person to have the position because someone's
Yeah.
going to have to be able to overrule another person. But
I mean, but ideal world for me would be Dave Filoni, and then he hires John Favreau as like kind of his as co-assistant or whatever to kind of
sure,
keep me in check, but I make the final call type thing on
yeah.
content and all that kind of stuff.
But I know there's also many other names out there, and it just again, we don't know who's going to come in. And for those that are, rejoicing and saying this is great, this is, new hope for Star Wars franchise, be careful because you don't know who the next person coming in is. And it makes me think of like sports when you have a coach that like you're just like, I want to get rid of this coach. I want to get rid of this coach. It only works if the next person coming in, is ready for the position and can be a great coach. Because if they don't, then things could get worse. So, but as far as my stance, I'm hopeful. I'm excited because I think it would be someone like Dave Filoni. Dave Filoni probably makes the most sense, even though, again, I don't know if I would rather have John Favreau or Dave Filoni. But with how they've promoted him already in the past, they might just bump him on up into that position. So we'll see. Any other thoughts on that? I
What's
don't
been like the time frame that she's been in charge? Like, I guess I don't
since
know the.
About
2014.
since technically before the sale, I think,
Yeah.
because George Lucas appointed her as the sale was going through,
Okay.
um,
Yeah.
to Disney.
Was
So
that
I think she's been
2014?
in, yeah, 2014, I think was when the 24, yeah, I think it was 2014, 2013 is when the deal um went final because we got Force Awakens when 20 was that 2015? I
Yes.
think that's right. So it
That
had to have been, she probably was like 2013,
Yeah, that could have been 2013.
because I think that movie was in production for at least 2 years.
Okay. And like
And
Might
her,
even be 2012. Just
in
got to keep
her
going back a year.
yeah,
in her role, like, is she kind of like I say what goes and doesn't go throughout all of Star Wars content?
I mean, she gets the last say outside of, Disney because, if Disney wants certain aspects or elements within like Star Wars, they're going to be able to have some kind of say into it since it falls under that umbrella of Disney. But in terms of like Star Wars Lucasfilm decisions, she's making all those final choices.
Okay. Because I didn't know. I guess I wasn't quite sure like exactly what kind of a role she is. She's kind of like a CEO, or is there like a board that like goes through these decision processes for content and
So
or she always has the final say?
she's essentially George Lucas, but George Lucas was independent. So he had no one to report to, so he truly had free range to everything. Whatever he wanted goes. The fact
Okay.
that Lucasfilm is not independent anymore, it's owned by Disney. Disney still gets, their stakeholders
Yeah.
still get say into the
Yeah. So yeah, she'd be accountable to the CEO, the board, probably a lot of the C-suite too. So I'm sure that they have a lot of decision power in terms of like how much money Lucasfilm gets. They probably could even like have veto power in terms of like
Mhm.
what projects actually get greenlit, which don't. Um, like, is this content gonna sell? Like, I would assume that like from her angle, she's in charge of a lot of the creative decisions,
Yeah.
but there's still a lot of business decisions that would happen at the parent org that she would probably have to abide to. I would think is how that would work.
Yeah, and I would have to believe when certain things have been cut, it hasn't necessarily been just her decision. She's probably the one voicing it because she's being told in her ear, like, no, we're not going to go forward with that, or we want
Hmm.
you to change this into a different direction or something like that. So I
Yeah.
know Kathleen Kennedy does take a lot of the brunt of, the criticism with everything, but and that's why I said, like, be careful because the next person that comes in is still going to have to report to Disney as well. And, they're still going to have some decision making power in the situation. So the grass isn't always greener, but if there's someone like Dave Filoni in there, I think there's certain elements that can be rejuvenated within Star Wars. And that comes back to the storytelling capability. And that's why, I mean, if you can tell a story, you can make anything good. Honestly, if you can make a story, find the right people to fit the roles, it's going to be good. So I think Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau can do that very well. And I guess just going back, I mentioned that it excites me that someone new coming in. The reason why, like, I have hesitations with Kathleen Kennedy more goes back to when Star Wars was purchased by Disney and like the keys were handed over. There were certain promises that were made to George Lucas about maintaining, his story, continue the progression of the characters and everything that was promised to be honored. And many of that didn't come to fruition. So like I peg that on Lucasfilm. I peg that on Kathleen Kennedy for not holding true to those. And I mean, simple things like the character of Luke Skywalker, who he turned into, was not the same Luke Skywalker we had in George Lucas. Even things like the relationship between Han Solo and Princess Leia that was so interestingly built within those original 3 movies was just thrown to the wayside. And when we see Han Solo again, he's just kind of a solo bum smuggler guy out on his own, and Leia is doing her own thing. So it's like, to me, that's not holding true to the original George Lucas vision. And I know George Lucas had his own 3 stories written and what he wanted to see on how the next stories would come out, and they went a completely different direction. So like, nothing personal against Kathleen Kennedy, just kind of certain decision makings and not honoring George Lucas's true Star Wars. And I feel that maybe that's more Disney to blame, because Disney's probably like, oh, we want to expand audiences, we want to get more money, so let's go in different directions and bring in new people, versus like holding true to what brought the original Star Wars fans in. So I don't know, just my 2 cents on that. And I don't know if you guys have anything to feed off of that.
Yeah, it feels like, I mean, the sequel saga, we've talked about it
many times.
many a time, many a podcast. It does, to your point, feel a little bit of a like weird to have these 3 characters in the original trilogy go through these moments of growth, and like the whole concept of the hero's journey being brought, like that's one of the big things that George Lucas built Star Wars on, was the Joseph Campbell's Hero with 1,000 Faces, which talks about the hero's journey. Highly recommend to read it. If you haven't, it's super interesting. You can see how he kind of applies it to Star Wars when you read the book. But like, it feels like you have these characters go through all this growth over the course of 3 movies, and then you get to 7 and they've just gone all the way back to episode 4, essentially. And like haven't really gone through, like haven't stayed true to the growth trajectories they were on. And I think like there was a lot of interesting stories you could have told with those characters, with their progression, introducing new characters. Like it just felt like, I think, and I don't put this on her specifically or anything, it just more my critique on the films themselves. It just felt like there was a little bit of a fear of mishandling those characters. So they're like, let's go back to what we know, which is what they were like in episode 4, and we'll just make them those characters and then bring these new folks in, so that like this is like, it felt like it was like hey, this is a safe way to handle these characters, which I think kind of worked in episode 7 and then fell down in the next 2. So yeah,
I think episode 7 brought much hope to the fan base. I think everyone was still united and everyone still had, a positive outlook on what Star Wars could be, and that Star Wars is back. And then it's just subsequent stuff kind of, I mean, well, I should say Force Awakens and then Rogue One, because both of those 2 were good hits in terms of like movie success.
Good back-to-back year.
Yeah. And then, Last Jedi, Solo, and then Rise of Skywalker kind of took it a different direction in the eyes of fans. So, what do we think? I know it's only rumor and don't know the validity behind it, but there's been speculation that George Lucas might want to play a role again in Star Wars, and it's kind of interesting that these rumors are starting to circulate a little more, revolving around this timing and news with Kathleen resigning. Is this? I mean, because Filoni and George Lucas have a relationship, right?
Yeah.
So is
and
this just
Favreau, I think.
and Favreau? So
yeah,
is
they
this?
brought
Go ahead.
George
Sorry.
came like to the set a couple times, I think, for Mandalorian. So like there isn't a relationship there. That's why I think that Filoni, if I were to look at the rumors, I would say that he for sure feels like the favorite. Because if there is because we have all these subsequent rumors of like George Lucas wanting to be involved again. I feel like if you elevate Filoni, that lets the path to letting George get back involved in
Yeah.
like the way he probably wants to be involved as more of a consultant. And like get more involved into future projects. That's got to be hard if you're George Lucas and seeing like the thing that you've created in your head, like that you've made from nothing, and then like it go in a direction maybe that you don't agree with. Who knows like what his perspective is. Although I think we kind of know based on some interviews that he's said that there's certain things that I think that he likes and certain things that he doesn't.
Yeah.
And so it's got to be hard, like being on the outside, watching something that you've created go in a direction that you didn't anticipate or didn't really want it to go.
Yeah.
So I can see why he'd probably be like, yeah, I'd like to get involved again.
And in all fairness, though, I mean, he can be upset all he wants, and I mean, I'm upset about things too, but with how Star Wars has been treated. But when you sell the rights and you hand over the keys, you kind of forfeit that power, unfortunately. But then I go back to the promise, the word that you were given to cherish this story, these characters, and continue to develop them in his vision. And then when you don't go against that, then I can understand the frustration there too. It's almost like stabbing someone in the back a little bit, and but if Filoni does end up heading Lucasfilm or Favreau, I feel like that does bring validity to your point in those rumors with George Lucas. Even if he doesn't like specifically play a role, just the relationship alone that he has with them, he's obviously going to give his insight. He's going to consult one way or another. So, I mean, it makes me feel like that's where these rumors are coming from. This potential Filoni or Favreau taking over Lucasfilm. So
yeah,
we'll see.
I even saw Disney. I feel like Disney issued a statement too around that, saying that like the door is always open if George ever wants to make a film. Essentially, I think was the direct quote.
Oh, here's a good question. If George Lucas were to make one film, what film would he make? First
in
of
the
all,
Star Wars universe, or like just
I was
outside?
gonna say
no,
Indiana Jones.
sorry. Yeah, no, within the Star Wars universe, like he gets greenlit for you get one movie you can make anywhere in the timeline of Star Wars. Where do you think he goes? Does he like go back to the sequel trilogy era and like I'm going to try and write this a little bit better, or does he go somewhere completely else? I personally, and he probably wouldn't because he doesn't really get involved with like Legends or the expanded universe, but I would want him to go all the way back to like the Old Republic just so he can set a precedent in that era and make sure like no one else like fucks it up. Just like this is how the Old Republic's going to be now. Filoni and Favreau, you can take it whichever direction you want, but that's what I would love to see. But curious what you guys think. If George Lucas could do one more film, what would he do?
I'm gonna say the one that I think he would want to do, and then the one that I want him to make.
Okay, let's do that.
So I feel like he would do the movie that James Mangold is making right now, which is the origin of the Force, like going all the way back and like the origin of the Jedi and like the start of the myth. I think that's what he would want to do.
Yeah.
Selfishly, what I want. the wills. Selfishly, what I want him to do, I'll take my like fanboy, have him redo 789 out, but I would want him to do Shadows of the Empire.
That would be sweet.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. How about you, Bogey?
God, I don't
You-
know how I can up that. Those were great picks, Zach. When you were like saying that, I was like, God, that's where my mind was kind of going too. But yeah, I mean, definitely agree with you much. I think maybe like the in the origins or like the Knights of the Old Republic, if like something in that era. But also wouldn't mind seeing what his thoughts are of like the clone. Like I know he did Attack of the Clones, but we kind of just jumped right into Revenge of the Sith. We missed that whole era of like live action. We got the cartoon, sure. I want to know what George Lucas's kind of like thoughts was, and if he were to make a movie of an actual war. It's Star Wars, but we always see it's always like a rebellion or it's the start of a war, or how about we see an actual like film of just the actual war and
yeah, that
what and how would George Lucas write it would
you,
be something I'd be intrigued about.
you saying that just popped an idea in my mind. Like, what about like the Battle of Jakku, where like the
Yeah,
final big battle between the remaining Empire and
That'd be cool.
the rebels at their amongst the height of the rebellion. So that would be kind of cool, and that would maybe impact things a little bit more because that's to what isn't that 5 years after Return of the Jedi when the Battle of Jakku took place? I think it is.
Yeah, it's about that. I think it was like 5 or 6 years. Yep.
So that could set another direction going into the sequel trilogy, or maybe set certain precedents. Maybe he could bring in a little bit more, because obviously Snoke was like a clone, because you see in Rise of Skywalker a bunch of different Snokes, and it was all Palpatine and him trying to become immortal essentially. So maybe he can do a better job of tying all of that together and make it a little bit more meaningful. Who knows? But to your point, it would be a big battle. It would be all out war between the Empire and the rebels. I don't know how much Luke Skywalker would have been involved. Do we know how much Luke Skywalker? I know there's books on it. I haven't read, but if he was involved with the Battle of Jakku at all.
but then my only other suggestion would be just a straight up Wookiee movie. Do you see Chewbacca's?
You've
But
got the holiday
Chewbacca's,
special.
yeah, the
That's
holiday.
a
But
Wookiee
no,
movie.
we need a full length of that of Chewbacca's
That's
dad
George Lucas's Wookiee movie.
just
Yeah.
watching who knows what on that.
The a virtual porn thing that
Yeah,
what's his name? Grouchy, not Grouchy. I forget what his
It
the
is
gra-
grouchy.
is it Grouchy? The grandpa's
It is
name?
grouchy. Yeah.
What a dirty little Wookiee that Grouchy is.
I'm yet to watch
Or
the
is it
full.
itchy?
Itchy. It's itchy. I think
It
it's
might be
itchy.
itchy.
I think
Yeah,
it's
it's itchy.
It's been I've not been able to watch the full length of it, but I did watch a YouTube clip of the scene you were telling me watch, and I just could not stop laughing. I
Well,
was like, "What is this?" Didn't
and
George Lucas? Didn't he direct that
he
or?
created that,
Yeah,
and
so
he immediately
just
said, "We
just
need to get rid
expand
of this."
just
Yeah.
expand on it.
I don't. So I don't think he had a lot of hands. I think that was
Yeah.
like he didn't really have a lot of hands on that project.
Probably
It
not.
was like a license, and he had approval rights over it, and then like it was taken by a whole other crew. There's a good documentary online about it, about the making of the Star Wars, or actually it might even be on Disney Plus. I can't even.
Probably is.
I think it's Disney Plus.
The holiday special is
Um,
on Disney Plus too. If you, at
yeah,
least it was. I don't know if
it's.
it still is.
I don't think it. I still is. I have my bootleg copy over there somewhere.
It's on
Um,
YouTube.
yeah, but yeah, they talk about it. It's pretty. It's a pretty like interesting how it was made, um, and like how it was written, and like how they got the main cast involved.
One of my favorite
That's a fun
stories.
piece of content.
One of my favorite stories coming out of that is the fact that George Lucas told everyone to like get rid of every copy of it, and like this never needs to be aired
Yeah,
again. But Carrie Fisher held on to her copy of it, like despite of
yeah,
what he said. Like that seems like just
yeah.
like a Carrie Fisher type thing to do, and I love that aspect. So it
Was
makes me wonder: is like the YouTube video that we have now a product of like Carrie Fisher holding on to her copy and then sharing it to the world without everyone knowing?
Yeah, it's just Turns out it's just the reason we still have it is Carrie Fisher's just burning like copies of her VHS master tape that she has.
Just constant.
Record,
Wasn't that in, like in
record.
an episode of like Big Bang Theory of them like hunting down this video?
Oh, it might have been.
It might have
I
been.
think it was.
I know she is in Big Bang Theory a couple of times. I think she shows up
Yeah, I
twice,
thought there
2 or 3
was like
times.
they show up to her house trying to
Yeah.
Yeah.
steal it or
James Earl
something.
Jones is in it
It's either
too.
that or some other show.
So is Mark
Yeah.
Hamill.
Mark
Yeah.
Hamill. Oh, that was a good show.
I just saw a scene where it's Sheldon's wedding
Mm,
and Mark Hamill is officiating it or whatever, what do you call it? And they're
yeah.
asking him all these Star Wars questions and he doesn't know the answers. And
Yeah.
he was like, do any of the Star Wars ships have wheels? He's like, I don't know.
That's hilarious. Oh, that was a good show, Big Bang Theory. I give credit to like nerdom becoming more popular because I feel like that really turned around in like the late 2000s, early 2010s when like Big Bang Theory was like at its height. Like it
Yeah.
was bringing like I don't know, it, someone that was a nerd like growing up like being made fun of for being a nerd and being into these kind of things and then seeing everyone being like, "Oh, being a nerd is awesome. Nerds are cool." Around Big Bang Theory. It's like, "Oh, we've come a long way at that point." So, I give credit to Big Bang Theory to help that out. So, because a lot of that was a popular show for everyone. So,
Yeah. And
Yeah, I feel like
it wasn't just Star Wars. They nerded out on Star Trek as well.
everything. Yeah.
yeah,
Everything.
everything.
Superheroes, everything.
I forgot to mention Zach. So, Bogey's big thing is he's a big Star Trek fan. So,
Oh, okay.
very knowledgeable in that. Big Star Wars fan as well, of course. But
And
because,
just sci-fi in general.
he's a big fan of Alien. I'm a big fan of Lord of the Rings as well. So like we dive into everything, but Bogey is
Yeah.
a big Trekkie fan as well. All right. Anything else we want to talk on in regards to either all those or the topics we went over or anything else that we're missing? No? Can't think of
I don't
anything.
think so.
Well, again, it was great having you back, Zach. It's been too long. Hopefully, we can see you pop in here a little more often. If not, again, no pressure, but really appreciate
All
all
the
the
pressure in the world now.
Of course.
really
My
appreciate all
schedule
the.
should be coming down a little bit, so hopefully we can make it a little bit more.
I feel like of all of us from this group, you have the most Star Wars pure knowledge, so it really becomes beneficial for me and the rest of the team to have you on. So I say no pressure, but then now I'm adding like all the pressure to him. But
Yeah. Like,
no,
you need to come back on.
yeah. But appreciate you jumping back on and glad to have you back. Bogey, glad that you're feeling better now and looking forward to more recordings coming up and then Andor just around the corner and we'll be reviewing that. I think the schedule will be different because of it being essentially 4 movies in 4 weeks. I think our strategy will be those will be released on Tuesdays. We'll watch them on Tuesday and then we will record and bring our opinions the following Wednesday evening. I think that will be the best way because having to fit in almost 2 hours of content while having kids and busy lives in time for a recording that evening might be a little challenging, but we'll make it work. Just run through our social media handles really quick. So you can find us on Twitter at DetBlockAA23pod, on Instagram at detention_block_AA_23, our Facebook group and YouTube channels, Detention Block AA23, a Star Wars podcast. And then you can find us on TikTok at DetBlockAA23. Again, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, comment on this video, rate, review, all the above. We greatly appreciate any little thing that you can do for us. And as a reminder, we are having a special prize giveaway once we hit a certain subscriber number. So if you subscribe to us, your name will be entered into a drawing for a prize giveaway when we hit that mark. So have a great rest of your week. Have a great rest of your day. And we look forward to talking with all you fans next week. And with that, as always, may the Force be with you.
Thanks for calling. This is Han Solo, and I'm going to be keeping you company for the next few hours right here on the Midnight Shift. Something's telling me